It's Sunday afternoon at 3 p.m., and it's time for Broad Perspectives Radio. We appreciate you tuning in today to KXCI, Tucson's community radio. This is Aspen Green with my co-host, Kathy Harris, and we're bringing you Broad Perspectives Radio, a program by women, about women, but for everyone. It's been a wonderful week with the Mariachi International Conference, and Grammy-winning singer Linda Ronstadt was honored at the Tucson Music Hall when it renamed the venue after her. These are all things that make us feel good when so much out there is troublesome. And I'm glad we can always find things that make us feel good. And it feels good to have our next guest on. Having grown up the way I did, I often wondered how my life could have been improved by having a mentor. And I always admired big brothers, big sisters. It's really great to have back on our show Marie Logan, who is with us with a long history with this organization. So over to you, Kathy.
Yeah, thanks, Aspen. And I've thought the same thing. When I was growing up, I had three brothers and a father and a sick mother. And I have often thought, God, it would have been so nice to have a mentor. I imagine that there's a billion stories like that and a huge, huge need and a big shortage of volunteers, but that's what we're going to find out. We're just delighted to have Marie Logan again. She began her career with Big Brothers and Big Sisters over 20 years ago as vice president of Yavapai, Big Brothers, Big Sisters in Prescott, Arizona. She has served as the executive director in Helena, Montana, and in August of 2012, joined the Big Brothers Big Sisters of Southern Arizona team as Chief Executive Officer. Maria has held numerous leadership positions within the Big Brothers Big Sisters network and currently serves as the co-chair of the National Leadership Council, recommending strategic priorities and promoting engagement among Big Brothers Big Sisters agencies across the whole country. Marie's experience volunteering as big sister to three little sisters has inspired her to dedicate her career to furthering the Big Brothers Big Sisters mission of igniting the power and promise of youth through one-to-one mentoring. Marie, welcome to our show.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
So nice to have you here. And you have such a long history with Big Brothers Big Sisters, and you are a big sister yourself, which I think is fabulous. You are obviously very dedicated. But, first, we always like to ask our guests, are you native to Tucson? And if not, how did you get here?
I'm not native to Tucson. I was actually born in Alabama, but my family moved to Arizona when I was still in elementary school. And we lived in Sierra Vista for a number of years. And I recall being a child and listening to a radio station out of Tucson and thinking, oh, Tucson's such a big city. I wish I could live there. And here I am all these years later living in Tucson. And I came here when I accepted the position for Big Brothers Big Sisters.
Well, welcome to the big city.
Thank you.
And tell us, what inspired you to become a big sister yourself? How long ago did you start doing that?
Well, I actually started working for Big Brothers Big Sisters in Prescott, Arizona. And I came from the for-profit world and started working in the nonprofit world. And I really felt like if I was going to work for a nonprofit, I had to understand the mission. So I signed up to be a big sister at that time. And honestly, it was life-changing. I mean, it really changed the trajectory of my life as I realized how powerful a mentor can be, how powerful a mentoring experience is. And, and I've been with Big Brothers Big Sisters ever since.
Wow. Can you tell us a little bit more about your experience and why it was life-changing?
I grew up in Prescott. After we moved from Sierra Vista, we moved up to Prescott. And I thought I knew everything about that little town. And then I met my little sister and saw an entirely different view of the city that I lived in. And I realized that there was a great need in our community for the children to have a sense of belonging and for the children to have someone in their life that can show them different directions and different things and different hopes and dreams. And that changed my life. And that's what I find so valuable about the program. We know that mentoring a child, it has long-lasting positive outcomes for them. But boy, it changes the volunteer too. And it changed my life. And I've seen it happen over and over again.
That's fabulous. What a great experience for you. And can you tell us what's the history of Big Brothers and Big Sisters? How long have they been around? How did they start?
Big Brothers Big Sisters nationally started well over 100 years ago by a man named Ernest Coulter. He was a clerk in the New York City court systems, and he saw so many young boys coming through the court systems that were being arrested and convicted of petty crimes, and realizing that most of these kids just needed additional guidance from stable adults. And so he started the first Big Brothers, like I said, over 100 years ago. And then gradually, just over the years, it's taken fire, and it's in every state in the country. Here in Tucson, next year, we'll be celebrating 60 years. Again, it was some men in our city that got together and said, this is a worthy organization. We need to bring it to Tucson. And they did so. And then a few years later, they made it Big Brothers, Big Sisters. And like I said, we're celebrating 60 years just next year.
That's a fabulous history. Thank you for that. I had no idea they've been around that long. So tell us, who's eligible for this program?
The boys and girls that are eligible for the program, they just have to have a desire to have a mentor. We don't want kids in the program that don't want a mentor, right? And then they have a need, and the need can vary greatly depending on the child's situation. Oftentimes, the kids are from single parent families or being raised by someone other than their biological parents. So maybe grandparents, aunts, or uncles. Sometimes schools refer children to us. We have, wonderful teachers out there in our community that see that a child may be struggling with some things and will recommend to their guardian that they connect with Big Brothers, Big Sisters. Ages are from 6 years old. We actually go up to 21 now, because we serve kids that are pursuing post-secondary education as well.
Is there an application process? I mean, if I wanted to refer somebody today, how would I do that?
Sure. For volunteers and for children, you just go to our website. It's SOAZ BIGS, BIGS, so Southern Arizona BIGS, abbreviated, .org. And there's lots of information about the different types of programs we have. You just fill out a very short information form, and we'll get in touch with you and give you all the information you need to sign up.
And how many, I'm curious, just in Tucson, how many little brothers and little sisters are currently getting mentoring services?
Today, we have over 300 kids in the program. And by the end of the year, we estimate we'll be at about 400. And that's lower than before the pandemic. During the pandemic, we really didn't have volunteers, people that were willing to volunteer, understandably. So we think that we'll be serving 600 kids within the next 2 years. And that's about what it was before the pandemic.
Wow. And is there a waiting list of kids who want mentors, but there's not enough mentors for them?
Yes, there's always a waiting list. Typically, again, before the pandemic, our waiting list was about 100 children at a time. And those kids would wait, boys especially would wait as much as a year before we could match them. And girls would be a couple of months.
So you definitely need more volunteers. So let's talk about the volunteers. What are the requirements to be a volunteer, and how do you become a volunteer?
The requirements for being a volunteer is being 18 or older, and being able to drive, have your own vehicle and be able to drive, a willingness and motivation to befriend a child or a teen. We ask for a 1-year commitment, preferably 18-month commitment. And the reason we do that is because a lot of the kids in our program have already experienced the loss of a parent or someone important in their life. And so we want someone who's going to be consistent for the child. The process to become a volunteer, of course, is first going to our website, soazbigs.org, filling out that contact form, and then attending an orientation. So you learn about our different programs, and we get a little bit more detailed about the requirements. And then having a personal interview with our match support specialist. And during that interview, we find out lots of information about you, what kind of a child that you would match well with, right? Whether it be somebody who's very active and sports inclined, or somebody who would love to dig into a computer or go to a play. We discover all those things about the volunteer. And then we do a background check and a driving history check, and check references as well, because we want to make sure that our volunteers are safe for our kids. And then once we do that, then we pair them with a child that we think they would enjoy being with. And that's the process.
Okay. And I assume as time goes along, I'm just thinking if I were to do this, questions might come up. Can I do this? Can I do that? I assume there's some sort of support for the volunteers to give them some guidance.
Absolutely. And it's one of the things that I really love about Big Brothers Big Sisters. We have a dedicated program staff, and every match has a program specialist, match support specialist, that works with the child, the parent guardian, and the volunteer, connecting with them every month. We also have activities that are available for the matches to attend, so they don't have to look for things to do. We, support that. But of course, if they want to do things on their own, they certainly can do that. But our match support specialists are trained on dealing with situations that come up, relationship situations, whether it be, my gosh, my little's not talking to me. I can't seem to get them to talk. And we hear that a lot with girls. Girls really take a while to have a voice and talk about what they'd like to do. And it could be, hey, I think there's something going on in the family that's concerning me. Can I talk about that? Or how do I talk to my little about preparing for high school or life after high school? What does that look like? We have lots of training that's available all the time for volunteers and for parents.
That sounds fabulous. How much time is expected that a big brother or big sister would spend with their little brother or little sister?
It's very flexible. It's a couple of hours, a couple of times a month. And it's flexible for the volunteer and for the family. Some of our matches, they want to see each other every week on Tuesday night. And some are like, I haven't seen my little in, 2 weeks, but we're going to a concert next weekend, and it's going to be a whole day event. So it really depends on the match.
Okay. I have a lot more questions about the programs that you have, but I think this might be a good time to take a music break. Aspen, what do you think?
Oh, you know me. I love our music breaks. But I just want to say it makes me so happy that schools do refer children to you. I know my daughter 25 years ago would bring home kids from school whose parents weren't able to be with them after school hours. And I wish I knew about big sisters and big brothers at that time. And I've known friends to be part of it. And besides making a difference in the girls' lives, I know how much it enriched their lives as well.